Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This is Stinchfield. I hope everybody had an absolutely fabulous Thanksgiving. So important and such an important holiday. So important that I want to talk about something that we can't be celebrating. I know this is a holiday weekend, but this is not something we can celebrate. And that is the Islamic takeover of America. I believe this is real. One only has to look to Dearborn, Michigan. You look at Dearborn, Michigan, and you have prayer calls 5 days a week as if we're in Afghanistan or something. The Mecca is in the heartland of America. In fact, the Islamic revolution that is coming to America wants to make the Mecca the United States. And they are not worried about how long it takes them. They are in a 700-year war. That is their quote, not mine. So I want to take some time tonight to go through what is happening as the Islamic community makes their way into America and slowly feeds off of us. Feeds off of us until the point we don't know it anymore. And the next thing you know, they've taken over school boards. They have taken over city halls. And I'm going to play for you some proof that they ultimately want the White House. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And when you look at what is going on, one only has to look at this Imam and what he has to say about Islam and where it is coming.
Today, so know this, that Islam will enter every house. Every house. Don't worry about the Islamophobes. They can yap all they want. Their children will be Muslim.
Do you hear what he says here? Don't worry about Islamophobes. And let me tell you something, folks. I'm not an Islamophobic. You want to practice the religion of Islam? Go ahead. It's my right to tell you why I would practice Christianity. But you want to practice Islam? It's a free country. Here's where I have a problem. When you want to indoctrinate it into my children's curriculum in schools, which we're seeing in America, and then when you want to institute Sharia law, you have communities being built all across this great land of ours, especially in Texas. There's this epic city. They want to build a community there that will be run by Sharia law, where women virtually have no rights. Gays and lesbians are thrown off the roof. There is no tolerance for anybody but the way they believe. And I will tell you that America is not a nation where some other version of the law supersedes our justice system. Not on my watch. But that is what they want. And they say the part out loud, but they usually do it amongst each other. And that's what's interesting about what I'm going to play for you tonight, is that we've got an inside look at what they are telling each other.
All those people of Taif, go to Taif today. Show me a kafir there. All Muslims. Read Tariq al-Thaqafi. Al-Thaqafi, this Qabila is from Taif. Great mujahideen, great ulama, they came from the children of those they used to throw those stones. So Islam will enter every house. What's the question? Are me and you going to be a part of it? Are we going to take that become that sabab, that means, so that Allah puts all of that in your hisab?
So he's saying that Islam will enter every house. He's telling the people that he's preaching to be a part of making sure that you go and push the word of Islam everywhere. And so when we see the election of Mamdani as the mayor of New York City, what we really have to realize is that's just a small part of the bigger plot. And that is to infiltrate every level of government. And to me, in many respects, it's frightening what they do. They are able to go out to their followers and then tell them to live in a way that ultimately they'll be the only ones left. And that's what they want. They want a total takeover of America. How do we know that? Because that's what the Quran tells them to do.
So you can be a part of this great victory that's coming, and wallahi, it's coming. It's coming in every house, in every country. Today here in Australia, subhanAllah, I'm sitting here in a masjid that we have people all the way out past the second place. Look at this. Who could have imagined these many Muslims in Australia? And it's not going to stop. You can stop immigration, you can stop whatever, you can do Muslim bans. Wallahi, it's not stopping.
Well, we know it's not stopping because we know the Muslim invasion has taken place in Europe. All you have to do is go to Paris and London. Cities destroyed by this. All you have to do is go to New York City, not just Mamdani, but in Times Square. They're having calls to prayer in Times Square, that Muslim call to face the Mecca. Outrageous, and it's got to be stopped, and we've got to push back.
Because the Prophet ﷺ said it will enter every house. Today, from some of the staunchest enemies of Islam, preachers and pastors, you see Muslims. We know them, we deal with them. Some of them that are still in the church, that still hide their Islam, I know them. But they are Muslims.
Do you believe him? Do you believe him that we have preachers in Christian churches across America that are actually Muslims and they're hiding within the ranks of the church? It's quite possible. We know that when jihadis operate, and jihadis have one goal in mind, a, quote, holy war to eradicate all of the non-believers, they will ingrain themselves into the, quote, infidels. And you better believe inside any one of the churches, whether it's Presbyterian, Catholic, Methodist, it doesn't matter. Those are the infidels. They infiltrate there, it's game over. Now, I saw another cleric, and I'm glad we have some time to go through all of this, because this cleric is the one who gives us the game plan. This cleric, as he's talking to his so-called flock, he reveals the secret. And to me, it's quite frightening in and of itself.
One day you're going to be the president of the United States of America. No one, go Michael Ali, who can stop you from becoming a president. Dream big, have a vision. Because if Barack Hussein Obama can be a president, Sohaib Jawad cannot be a president? Tell me. He's going to be a president. He's talking about that the Muslims will take over Mecca. They used to laugh at him.
Talking about the Muslim takeover of Mecca, they used to laugh at it. Well, they took it over. And then he, interestingly enough, brings up Barack Hussein Obama, as President Trump likes to call him. He brings him up. Why does he bring him up? Well, I think it's a wink and a nod to the people he's talking to. Because Barack Hussein Obama had great sympathies, at the very least, towards these Islamic holy warriors that are trying to change society. They want America to fall, folks. Make no mistake about it. I know that's not the greatest Thanksgiving message that I can give you, but they want America to fall. So I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do about it? Now, I'm not telling you to go out and engage in violence or anything like that, but here's what I am telling you to do is use your words. Use the truth. Use the Constitution as a weapon to stand up and push back. Because they hate the ideas of freedom. You look at Mamdani in New York. He said he hates capitalism. He said it on CNN. Why wouldn't we believe him? He calls himself a Democrat socialist. We believe he's a communist. Of course he hates capitalism, but America was built on that fundamental value. But they want no part of that. Now, it gets even more sinister from this guy.
What happened? What is Mecca now? What is Mecca? It's coming. Change is coming to America. And what is Allah telling us? Kuntum khayra ummatin. You are the best of nations. You're better than everybody else. That's what Allah is saying. Let's work towards that. Let's work towards a Muslim mayor. Next election that comes in, nominate people for the school board of education. Next election that comes here, nominate people for the local township.
You see what he's saying? You infiltrate at the local level. Now, Mamdani happened to do it in the biggest city in America. We know that Dearborn, Michigan, Minneapolis, Minnesota, these are all hubs for this. And he's telling you to infiltrate at every level, all the way to the school board. Why? Because if you can get the school board, well, then you own the children. And that's the key. And I told you about sinister. Listen.
The demographics change. People converted. There's a big, huge conversion going on in this country. But where are the converts? They just convert and they're gone in the wilderness. The other thing, children. Muslims have the highest population. Average, they did a, Pew Foundation did a research study, Pew Foundation, and they said that Muslim household average is 3.4 child per family. The white American has 1 child per family. We're already beating the march.
3.4 kids per family. So he says we're already beating us. I can't believe it's down to 1 kid per family. Now here's where it gets to the point where he says the secret part out loud.
Because these are voters. These are not just babies being born in hospitals. These are voters. That's the way a politician looks at it. We have to change the framework and start looking at things from a different lens, different angle. For future, you're not going to change society today in your lifetime, but you think about your
grandkids in your future. He says the children are warriors. That's how they view children. Not as sweet, precious, innocent babies who want to nurture to grow up to have a successful life and do better than their parents. They look at the kids as warriors, and in many respects, to be sacrificed. And this is the problem we face now. Because they're serious about this stuff, serious as a freaking heart attack. Infiltrate the school boards. The kids are the warriors. Have lots of them so they can go out and wage a holy war on America, and they're already here. And what started it all? Unfettered immigration, thanks to Barack Obama and Joe Biden. God bless President Trump for at least shutting some of it down. Now, what's the timeline on this? You heard the one cleric just say, it's not going to happen in your lifetime. We got to set it up for future generations. They don't think like us. We think if we don't like entertainment tonight in the first 30 seconds, we're churning the channel. They talk about 700 years.
700 years of our trial to conquer Europe by force failed. They did something wrong, very wrong. They tried for many years to conquer Europe through wars, only wars.
This is... So you hear what he says? They come to Europe through wars. They were going to try to fight wars to take over Europe. But the jig is, you can't fight wars because you're not going to beat us in a war. The United States military is too powerful. What you have to do is take over the United States military. And you do that by breeding more children, as the one cleric said, having unfettered immigration, bring lots of immigrants here, sign them up for the military, sign them up for the school boards, start pushing them into Congress. We're already seeing that. We've got radical Islamic jihadists as members of Congress now. And you think the takeover of America isn't real? It's going on right before our eyes. Now, thank God we've got a commander-in-chief who is aware of it and is pushing back. But I will tell you this, as Steve Bannon says, this entire situation is sinister.
We're in a revolution, and we have to win. If we don't win, the country's gone. The stakes could not be higher. It's very simple. This is a binary function. This is black and white. We win and they lose. This is just like going against the evil empire in the Soviet Union. But now it is here in the United States of America. This is not a foreign threat. This is an internal threat. This is a clear and present danger of an enemy. All enemies, foreign and domestic. Well, we got a couple, 3 foreign, but man, we got more than a couple, 3 domestic. Domestic enemies, full stop. And on stage last night in New York City, that was an enemy.
He's talking about Mamdani. Think about the enemies in the United States that we have. This Jayapal character. I mean, you've got members of Congress who literally support jihadis. We've got to do something. And you heard Steve. He says it's now or never. So I saw this gentleman spelling out what we were really up against and how they infiltrate communities. And I'll play it for you because he spells out how they infiltrate slowly and then how they feed off of us. Take our money, take our government handouts, breed more kids, take more of our money, until the next thing you know, it's game over.
As a religious refugee, increase the number of your followers and demand political accommodation, and then eliminate the previous culture. So I was speaking in Detroit area, and afterwards had people come up and visit around the book table, and they were telling me about a lady who had a ministry to pregnant mothers. So she shows up at a Muslim house, has a little present. Well, out of a bedroom comes another pregnant Muslim mom. Out of a bedroom comes another pregnant Muslim mom. Out of a bedroom comes another pregnant Muslim mom, all pregnant by the same man. He's practicing Sharia law in his house.
And that's happening in the United States. He's got houses lined up and down the street. This is outside of Detroit, Michigan, that he's talking about. And as he's doing this, he's having more children, so the government will pay him more money for SNAP benefits and who knows what else, government assistance. And all the while, this guy is plotting and planning his Sharia law takeover of his area of Detroit.
And then someone else says, oh yeah, Fazil bought a bunch of houses on the street, has a wife in each one.
Where was this?
In Detroit area. The wives go down to the welfare office and say their husband's not around. He goes and visits them, and the more kids they have, the larger the checks get. And he's living like a king at state expense, and all the kids playing in the middle of the street are his children. He's practicing Sharia law on his block. They take over several more blocks, and they vote in the school board. And now they have their Sharia in the schools. And then they take over more blocks. They vote in the police department, fire department. And in Hamtramck, Detroit, they vote in the majority of the city council. They have their minarets, their calls to prayer 5 times a day, no different than Pakistan. So we see the first ones come in as immigrants.
Mm-hmm. Now, he's going to spell it out how it works. And this is where it gets fascinating. Because the first group, the wave, seems to be well-intentioned, innocuous. Don't worry about them. And then it gets progressively worse.
And they're nice, and they're so nice, everybody says they're nice, nothing to fear, let more in, more come in, they gravitate together, form a community. Imam shows up and says, okay, you need to start getting a little more serious about this, more fundamental. Then the burqas start appearing, people say the neighborhood's changing, they move out, more Muslims move in. And then there's always that stickler that says, I refuse to move out. And that's when there's random violence from Muslim youth. And there's no witnesses, because no Muslim family dare testify against another Muslim family on behalf of some kafir infidel that's hanging in the neighborhood. And so eventually they take over the entire neighborhood. And they do this neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city, block by block, until they take over countries. And there's 1,400 years of track record to observe this pattern. So they took over Egypt, which used to be Coptic Christian. They took over Syria, which used to be Christian. They took over all of Turkey, which used to be Christian. Took over all of North Africa, which used to be. They took Spain, held it for 700 years.
There's the 700 years again. Isn't it interesting that that number keeps coming up over and over again, because they have patience to make it happen. And one of the ways they make it happen and recruit people into their movement is by pushing socialism, by pushing handouts, by pushing the government will take care of you, you don't need to do anything, by denouncing freedom and capitalism, by denouncing the American way of life, by taking away opportunity from everyone, by bringing everyone down to an equal playing field, meaning you're bringing everyone down instead of rising those below you up. It's the exact opposite of what free markets and capitalism does. Free markets and capitalism wants to bring everyone up, and everybody keeps moving up. Instead, they want just the opposite, because they want you beholden to you. So let me remind you about Mamdani, what he said, that first speech that he made on election night a few weeks ago in New York City. This was him.
Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties.
Everybody but Americans. Everybody but New Yorkers. Everybody but born and bred Americans. Because he doesn't care about you. This is all part of the plot. And he'll offer free stuff, free bus service. and he'll offer, he's going to freeze the rents, so landlords are never going to be able to pay their mortgages off on their buildings. Investors will flee New York City, and New York City is going to collapse after the crime wave that occurs, and no one will want to live there because the thugs and thieves rule the streets. Steve Scalise knows it.
Anybody wait to see what those free buses are going to look like? I'm sure they're going to be incredibly safe and clean when you ride the free buses. Can anybody wait to see what those government-run grocery stores are going to look like? Shelves unstocked, expired food. I'm sure the friendliness of those employees that are government employees at those grocery stores. That's what socialism does. Socialism always overpromises and underdelivers.
And it seems to me that the leaders of Islam don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. They're making quiet, small promises to ultimately take over America, and they're not done with whether or not they deliver on that promise or not. And whether or not they deliver on that promise will be, folks, up to all of you. So keep your eyes peeled, keep awake, and again, I'm not here to squash people's religious freedom. That's not my thing. You practice whatever religion you want to practice. And I got the free speech to tell you why it may be the wrong choice. But we're still in America. But when you start infiltrating, when you start changing the American value system, when you start pushing a new law like Sharia on the American people, that's when I push back, and I will push back hard. And I will keep sounding the alarm until everyone out there wakes up to exactly what is going on. All right, hey folks, Patriot Mobile. They are fabulous, by the way. You know, they're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Right now, if you use the promo code RAV, you get a free month service of Patriot Mobile. I would urge you to go to patriotmobile.com/RAV. Sign up for service today. Every day you wait is another day you're funding the woke left by funding those woke cell phone companies. Patriot Mobile is supporting networks like this. They believe in the Second Amendment. They're putting "In God We Trust" signs in schools across America. This is the kind of company you want to be aligned with. If you haven't switched to Patriot Mobile, I'm going to ask you why. Now is the time to do it. What a great Christmas gift for family and friends. PatriotMobile.com/RAV. Use that promo code RAV for a free month's service. All right, coming up next, is there a massive UFO coming to America? Or is it a comet that's off kilter? I don't know, this story's wild. Well, we've got one of the premier experts on UFOs and the situation we're seeing in space. Stay tuned for that as Stinchfield continues.